missions have already been claimed, leaving only 2 demon god units remaining. The once hesitant mutant group began to show signs of impatience. Finally, the mission for demon god Jin was taken by the Cardinal of the Holy See. The mission for Gung was taken by the 8 tribes of Brahma, led by Emperor Indra. This was no simple combat mission. Everyone knew it held immense peril, demanding thorough preparation. Zhang Yi's first move was to seek out Prodaja, demanding a large quantity of combat supplies once more. Though Prodaja was furious enough to have his nose crooked, he reluctantly swallowed his anger and provided Zhang Yi with ample equipment, remembering that Zhang Yi was facing the 4th-ranked demon god, Ding, making the mission exceptionally difficult. The various mutant forces busied themselves. They obtained the most detailed intelligence from Fremons, then mapped out their routes and formulated battle plans. No one dared be careless, nor was anyone foolish enough to march directly toward the destination. Among these teams, Zhang Yi remained the most composed. He didn't need to worry about travel time or exposing himself along the way. So, upon returning to his residence, he immediately gathered everyone together. Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin were the exceptions. They remained occupied with decrypting the demon god's mech data and the information stored within that memory chip. Zhang Yi tapped the table, drawing everyone's gaze to him. Zhang Yi spoke, "After a few days' rest, everyone should be sufficiently adjusted. I've accepted the combat mission. Next, we're heading to the Huarong Federation region. This time, our opponent is the demon god Ding. Fremons have provided intelligence on their fleet size and composition. It's a large-scale military group, over 30,000 combat units, 20,000 engineering units, and 5 supersized mechanical life forms. Assessing their combat strength is straightforward, but we don't know the level of the demon god Ding." At this point, Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "But that's not your concern. Liang Yu, Deng Shintong, Flower, and the Volt Shadow Troop, you handle the combat groups. As for the demon god Ding, leave that one to me." Bai Li Changqing, standing with arms crossed, suddenly asked, "No plans to deploy the Reaper of Love?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "No plans for that right now. The Reaper of Love's destructive power is too overwhelming. If it obliterates all those mechanical life forms, are we supposed to go scavenging for scrap? They're valuable assets, don't waste them. Missiles carrying Reaper of Love missiles would be far too obvious targets, almost guaranteed to be shot down. Zhang Yi could use his abilities to detonate it at close range. But judging by his assessment of the demon god's body, it likely wouldn't achieve much. That omnidirectional defense field probably had defensive power second only to his everything under heaven. Combined with its formidable steel body, the Reaper of Love might not be effective at all." Deng Shintong said, "We now possess extensive data on mechanical life forms. Dealing with those swarms isn't difficult. The question is, how do you plan to handle the demon god Ding?" Zhang Yi slowly extended 2 fingers. "2 possibilities. First, Ding is an upgraded version of the demon god Gui, with vastly enhanced capabilities across the board. If that's the case, I have a solution. He cannot breach my defenses. I can stall him in close combat. Either I eliminate him outright, or I wait for your team to finish their targets before joining the fight. Second possibility, Ding possesses abilities beyond demon god Gui's capabilities. Yet even so, his strength cannot reach a level to overwhelm me. Otherwise, on the day Karen City fell, not a single survivor would remain in the Pantheon. Therefore, I have a rough estimate of his strength. Given that, I can at least guarantee there will be no mortal danger to us in his presence. So, I'll give you a heads up, be prepared to retreat at any moment. During the initial stages of the battle, do not spread out. I will launch the first wave of attacks to create a battlefield environment favorable to us." The others nodded in agreement. They had no choice but to follow Zhang Yi's tactical plan. After all, they offered little help in strategizing against the demon god Ding. Deng Shintong asked, "When do we move?" Zhang Yi turned to Yang Xinxin and Lu Karen, "When do we move?" Lu Karen replied, 2 days. Yang Xinxin answered, 3 days. Zhang Yi nodded. Alright, 3 days it is. Fatty Sue grinned as he leaned in close, winking and whispering in Zhang Yi's ear, "Boss, aren't you being a bit biased toward Miss Yang? Watch out, Miss Lu might get upset." Zhang Yi shot him a glance. "What the hell do you know? You don't seriously think all the time I've spent guarding them here has been wasted, do you? Karen needs 2 days to prepare, while Xinxin needs 3. So I absolutely must wait 3 days, to make sure we're fully prepared before moving." The preparation period was lengthy, and over the following days, the demon gods began appearing one after another. All 9 remaining demon gods revealed themselves, while the Mechanical Legion's excavation operations noticeably accelerated. Fremons and other nations concluded that the mechanical civilization was nearing the very thing they sought. And that mysterious thing must surely be a colossal treasure. The teams of mutants who had acted earlier had all obtained valuable items to varying degrees, so they firmly believed this to be true. Thus, they proceeded to accept the subsequent combat missions one after another. The mission for Demon God Wu was taken on by the Fremons mutants, led by Newton and Brian. Demon Godrin would fight against the Europa Alliance, Asgard. For Demon God Ji, from the Kutan Empire, Saladin of the Shadow Demon Legion. Demon God Jiao was taken by the Roman Temple of God, also from Euro, under the command of the Divine Lord Jupiter. The European alliance at this time was not the same as its former territory. Some powerful nations had seceded from the alliance, while others had merged due to the conquests of strong powers. The most prominent example was the Kutan Empire led by Saladin, which had consolidated over a dozen smaller nations across Eurasia into a vast new empire. Of course, beyond the regions guarded by demon god mechas, mechanical legions operated throughout Fremons. These areas were assigned to teams of mutants from nations with slightly lesser strength to suppress. Zhang Yi needed 3 days to prepare thoroughly, but not everyone possessed his patience. Many, upon receiving their assignments, had already rushed into action. For instance, the Roman Temple of God team had set foot on the ruins of a massive nuclear power plant located within the Yilum United Federation territory. The Pantheon. Morana assembled half of her powerful mutant forces, including Thunder God Purin, Alexei and Luna God, Jussenberg, preparing to march toward the region where Yi resided. They had briefly clashed with multiple demon gods during the fall of Karen City, so they understood their formidable strength all too well. Thus, Morana did not take this battle lightly, concentrating her strongest forces. The reason for targeting Demon God Yi was precisely because his domain encompassed Karen, the capital of their own Fremons. Upon learning of Morana's impending expedition, Prodaja hurried to dissuade her. "Morana, isn't your action a bit too hasty? This battle will undoubtedly be extremely perilous. Why not let Chaos, King Arthur, Columbia, and the Holy See go first to test the waters? Once they've successfully defeated powerful foes, we can unite with them to confront the upper demon god Yi." Prodaja pleaded fervently with Morana, who was undeniably Fremon's most formidable mutant. Like a razor-sharp sword, she possessed unmatched power yet was most vulnerable to damage. Should she fall, the entire realm of Fremons would be thrown into turmoil. At such a critical juncture, he deeply envied Huashu Kingdom, which had 2 bishop-level mutants stationed there. When Zhang Yi was away, at least Hotu could safeguard Huashu Kingdom. But alas, in recent years, Fremon's national strength had significantly declined. Both its population and economic power ranked low internationally. The emergence of a bishop-level mutant was a blessing from the heavens, achieved only through their relentless investment of resources. Prodaja could not tolerate anything happening to Morana. Morana's gaze remained perpetually cold, not directed at anyone in particular, but simply innate. "We must personally reclaim Karen City. Only then can we wash away Fremon's disgrace." Over the years, repeated battlefield defeats have caused many nations to look down upon Fremons. We even nearly lost our right to lead. This rare opportunity has gathered mutant teams from across the world here. I must prove that Fremons remains unshakably powerful. No one can challenge us. Prodaja wanted to say more, but when he met Morana's icy blue eyes, eyes radiating fierce pride and confidence, he swallowed the words. Good. Prodaja nodded. Then we'll fight side by side. We'll win this battle in style. As an administrative official, he was pivotal in managing logistics, a critical lifeline for any nation in this apocalyptic era. Though his personal combat prowess wasn't exceptional, intelligence and resource supply proved indispensable in a true decisive battle. He would prepare the battlefield for Morana and the others. This time, Morana was exceptionally well prepared, deploying no fewer than 5 Epsilon-tier mutants. Beyond the 3 mentioned earlier, this group included 2 more, Vulcan, Dazbog, with an ability index of 19,000 points, and God of the Underworld, Velis, at 18,000 points. Such a team of mutants possessed staggering combat power. After all, 2 Epsilons approaching the strength of the Black Chariot, 2 Black Chariots themselves, and a White Bishop, anywhere in the world, this force was more than enough to unleash a colossal storm. In this battle, they didn't just aim to win. They aimed to win spectacularly. The others had already set out one after another, for the demon god might not wait for them in one place. Zhang Yi waited patiently for 3 full days, until Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin had completed their tasks. Yang Xinxin lifted her hands from the supercomputer, her eyes bearing an unshakable weariness. Even the sharpest mind grew weary from overthinking. Yet deep within her gaze lay an uncontrollable thrill. Yang Xinxin transmitted a file directly to Zhang Yi and said, "Brother, I need to rest for a while. Call me if anything comes up." Zhang Yi's intelligence system instantly received a massive influx of data, swiftly distilling its source. Upon reviewing it, a relaxed smile touched Zhang Yi's lips. "All right, get some rest. The next phase is mine to handle." The time had come. Zhang Yi took a brand new bracelet from Lu Karen's hand and stepped out of the shadow space. At this moment, Deng Shintong's Heavenly God Squad and the entire Volt Shadow Troop unit led by Bai Li Changqing stood fully prepared, ready to charge straight into battle. After emerging, Zhang Yi surveyed everyone with a mere smile on his face. "Let's go." "Yes, Supreme Excellency." The Volt Shadow Troop members' shout reverberated like thunder. Zhang Yi's smart device confirmed the coordinates of the Huarong Federation region, pinpointing the location based on the high-energy reaction zone. He then opened the dimensional gate and led everyone toward that direction. Huarong Federation region. This area had once been part of human cities, but now, almost no remnants of human architecture remained across the entire Federation territory. The major cities had been nearly destroyed. Dense clouds blanketed the sky, casting a gloomy pall over the land below. At that moment, a deep, rumbling sound erupted from the earth, reverberating in all directions like the ground itself was collapsing. The next instant, a massive pillar of crimson light shot skyward, instantly dispersing the cloud cover. The terrifying energy fluctuations possessed a power far beyond anything achievable by the firearms of this human era. The clouds were forced apart, revealing the scarred, frozen landscape below. Mechanical lifeforms swarmed everywhere, while dozens of pitch-black caverns dotted the landscape, some hundreds of kilometers in diameter, others spanning over 10 kilometers. Amidst the ruins, a demon god clad in black armor crouched atop a collapsed building, gazing up at the sky with a haunting expression. He bore a resemblance to the ancient, conical-hatted heroes of Huashu Kingdom, for atop his head rested a black helmet resembling a conical hat. Extending backward from his head was a vast cloak formed by shimmering, dark-hued armor plates. The sight resembled a colossal prehistoric centipede clinging to a giant's back, a bizarre yet strangely captivating beauty. The clouds in the sky he gazed upon were violently swept aside, revealing everything he sought to see. In the boundless expanse above, the massive polyhedrons floated suspended, like the eye of a deity surveying the entire world. The gods created this great eye to watch over humanity. Mortals offer blood sacrifices to please the divine. These words flowed from the mouth of the demon god Ding. The words spoken by the demon god Ding originated from the 6-winged sovereign who commanded them. He did not understand their meaning, he merely followed the 6-winged sovereign's orders to sow chaos upon this land. Then, lure the weak surface races to come. And then, slaughter. It was that simple. So, taken literally, their battle resembled some kind of ritual, an attempt to draw out the gods observing this world and receive rewards. Perhaps what they sought with such single-minded devotion was connected to this very matter. But the demon god Ding couldn't grasp the point of it all. Those feeble, backward races, their technology as primitive as subterranean vermin, yet they fought their engineering vehicles with such intensity. Was there any meaning in this arrangement? The demon god Ding lowered his head and thought for a moment. Perhaps there was, perhaps there wasn't. But to him, it truly held little significance. After all, for him, life itself held no real meaning. Just as this thought crossed his mind, he suddenly sensed an abnormal aura permeating the air. He lifted his head to gaze at the sky, his eyes fixed on a specific point in the void. Suddenly, the clear sky was torn open. A massive gash. One after another, gun barrels and cannon muzzles extended from the rift, aiming directly at the entire ground below. In the next instant, hundreds of thousands of barrels roared in unison. Zhang Yi and his team had arrived on the battlefield. They hadn't looted 2 armories in Fremons to build a collection, but to ensure they could be put to use when the moment demanded it. Like right now. The area where the demon god Ding resided exhibited exceptionally intense energy fluctuations. Beyond the engineering core mechanical life forms encountered earlier, tens of thousands of combat-type mechanical life forms now swarmed the region. Their combat prowess was incomparable to what Zhang Yi had faced upon first arriving in Fremons. Zhang Yi never spared resources in battle. To secure victory and protect his men from casualties, he unleashed ammunition without hesitation. Nearly half of Fremon's ammunition reserves lay in his hands, millions of artillery shells alone. Bullets numbered in the billions. In an instant, iron rained from the sky. Bang! Countless streams of fire roared down from the sky, carrying out an indiscriminate attack on every mechanical life form on the earth. The moment they sensed the attack, the mechanical life form's eyes turned blood red. Alert! Alert! Enemy attack detected. Prepare for combat. The mechanical voice echoed across the entire battlefield. Their first action was to raise their defensive force fields toward the sky. Wave after wave of force fields blanketed the land, instantly colliding with the dense hail of iron. Boom! Explosions echoed in unison, yet the barrage in the sky poured outward relentlessly, showing no sign of ceasing. Zhang Yi hovered mid-air, his gaze sharp as he surveyed the entire battlefield below and the most dangerous threat of all, the demon god Ding. His objective was clear: in the opening phase of battle, exhaust every last bullet from both armories. Not a single round left behind. Demon god Ding observed Zhang Yi, his eyes reading complex data streams. Target confirmed, codename time and space. Data synchronization complete. Optimal combat plan deployed. Demon god Ding lifted his head to face Zhang Yi. In the next instant, a demon eye-like feature abruptly materialized atop his hat. At the center of the demon eye was embedded a massive red energy crystal. He aimed the demon eye at Zhang Yi and instantly unleashed a colossal energy cannon. It was barely recognizable as an energy cannon. A crimson beam over 200 meters in diameter surged skyward, hurtling straight toward Zhang Yi. On Zhang Yi's end, the intelligence system promptly generated a feedback report based on the energy level. Detected energy attack. Preliminary ability index, 36,000 points. Got it. Zhang Yi's voice was icy cold. His left eye, where the original pupil had warped and transformed, now resembled an antique pocket watch. A second hand moved slowly and steadily. The power of the second hand of time allowed him to foresee events unfolding 3 seconds into the future. Gate of 3,000 realms, encompassing everything under heaven, stood before him, guarding with utmost vigilance, leaving not the slightest opening. His ability index stood at 32,000 points, while the enemy he faced possessed a strength around 36,000 points. Considering that his body, operating under overload conditions, could unleash attacks exceeding normal levels, even temporarily reaching 40,000 points. Therefore, the advantage lay with Zhang Yi. Boom! A powerful crimson energy beam shot toward Zhang Yi, vanishing into the dimensional gate upon contact. The relentless energy caused noticeable tremors within the gate itself. Yet such a probing attack was insufficient to destroy it. Zhang Yi countered instantly with his full counterattack, ability redirecting the entire assault back at the demon god Ding through another dimensional gate. The attack returned as swiftly as it had arrived. Ding looked skyward, his right hand suddenly drawing a slender, elongated weapon. It resembled a spear, yet also bore the form of an oversized iron tongs. With a light block above his head, an invisible barrier unfolded like an umbrella. All the energy descending upon him dispersed along the barrier's curved surface, scattering to both sides. The earth instantly crumbled into countless grains of dust. Yet the figure of the demon god Ding vanished before Zhang Yi's eyes in an instant. Incredibly fast. Zhang Yi had witnessed the combat prowess of the demon god Gui and knew that the movement speed of such combat-type units surpassed even the most advanced fighter jets. Yet this teleportation-like speed still caused him to furrow his brow slightly. Fortunately, he never relied on his eyes to track the body's movements. Instead, he predicted the future using the second hand of time. No matter how fast you move, your position at any given future instant is predetermined, an outcome that cannot be altered. At this moment, the extravagant fighting style of the Lord of War was yielding tremendous results. While the mechanical lifeform's defensive force fields could indeed block attacks, they were not invincible. They consumed energy as well. To these mechanical beings, the seemingly primitive firearm of humans posed a significant threat when deployed in sufficient numbers and with high enough energy levels. As tens of millions of shells and bullets rained down, explosions erupted across the battlefield, obliterating countless mechanical bodies. Zhang Yi showed no intention of halting the assault. After all, the ammunition stockpiled in two armories, even when fired from hundreds of thousands of guns and cannons, wouldn't be exhausted anytime soon. Zhang Yi had no intention of deploying the Volt Shadow Troop or the Heavenly God Squad. The operational plan mandated an initial barrage of long-range artillery to clear the area. It wasn't that Zhang Yi lacked confidence in their capabilities, he simply saw no need to risk casualties when a bloodless solution was possible. The demon god Ding soared into the sky. His eyes held no trace of emotion as he raised his spear. Along its shaft, crimson energy crystals ignited one by one. With a fierce swing, a terrifying energy storm erupted as if splitting the heavens, unleashing a deafening sonic boom. This strike wasn't aimed at Zhang Yi personally, but engulfed the entire space around him. Zhang Yi saw right through his intent, to destroy those hundreds of thousands of guns and cannons. How could Zhang Yi let him succeed? Everything under heaven suddenly expanded. The distance he could now control between his dimensional gate and his physical body was 4 kilometers. This allowed him to form an absolute defense spherical domain 8 kilometers in diameter in the sky. Within this domain, his defense was nearly unbreakable. Physical attacks, unless vastly exceeding his ability index, lost all effect. If you couldn't shatter Zhang Yi's dimensional gate in the first instant, the next moment, having absorbed your attack, he would reflect it back to you unchanged. Demon God Ding reacted swiftly, but such a wide-area attack made precise deflection difficult. Yet Zhang Yi only needed to block his attacks to thwart his objective of destroying the Lord of War ability. However, though he parried this strike, Zhang Yi instantly realized this approach would leave him vulnerable. By deliberately blocking attacks targeting the Lord of War, he inevitably became distracted, a perilous state during a clash between powerful adversaries. Therefore, Zhang Yi made an immediate decision: he withdrew all his guns and cannons. Yet those napalm bombs and high-yield shells were dumped onto the ground like high-altitude trash, poured out in a torrent. Even in the extreme cold of over -100 degrees Celsius, the napalm bullets still delivered devastating effects. While incapable of incinerating the advanced mechanical lifeforms, the extreme heat still took its toll on their mechanical bodies. If the enemy were carbon-based lifeforms without proper defenses, they'd likely dehydrate or suffocate to death outright. In any case, not a single bullet went to waste. Regardless of its impact, each one served some purpose. Besides, since it was an ammunition produced by his own company, he felt no qualms about using it. As a major military power, Fremon's production capacity wasn't an issue. He'd simply demand more from Prodaja later, no need for politeness. Just as Zhang Yi entertained this thought, several rapidly enlarging objects appeared in his field of vision. A few mechanical lifeforms resembling flying saucers rose from the earth. Zhang Yi's intelligence system instantly scanned them. They had already flown to a position less than 10 kilometers from Zhang Yi. They were 5 supersized mechanical lifeforms. Unlike the ones encountered earlier, these were entirely circular aerial vehicles. No, rather than aerial vehicles, they were more like aerial fortresses. They bore no wings or wingsuits, yet their bodies were larger than aircraft carriers, appearing incredibly heavy while effortlessly hovering mid-air. So these are the combat-type mechanical lifeforms? Zhang Yi murmured to himself. These were far more formidable than the construction types he'd encountered before. At the very least, their firepower and defenses vastly surpassed those of the earlier engineering vehicles. They certainly look intimidating, but for me, sheer numbers hold little significance. As long as their attacks couldn't penetrate Zhang Yi's dimensional gate, they couldn't harm his true form. Just as this thought crossed Zhang Yi's mind, 5 colossal mechanical lifeforms erupted with intense energy reactions. What appeared to be cannon barrels aimed at Zhang Yi were gathering energy. Zhang Yi dared not be overconfident. Mechanical lifeforms weren't human. When sparing no energy expenditure, they could unleash astonishing power. Even these supersized mechanical lifeforms could potentially unleash attacks capable of killing bishop-level mutants if they threw caution to the wind. Yet it wasn't them who struck first, but the demon god dinged directly before Zhang Yi. A slender spear gripped in his mechanical arm, he raised it, pointing it at Zhang Yi. With a mere tightening of his grip, an invisible force erupted from the spear's tip, instantly traversing the vast distance to reach Zhang Yi's everything under heaven barrier. In that instant, over 200 layers of dimensional gates surrounding Zhang Yi were violently shattered, forming a cone-shaped passageway. Before him, there were no more dimensional gates to shield him. Zhang Yi witnessed this scene through the second hand of time. The next moment, he reacted. Before the demon god Ding could act, he took a step back and vanished into a dimensional gate. Demon god Ding frowned. He knew the opponent's methods. Though demon god Gui was dead, all his data had been uploaded to the central hub before his demise. Demon god Ding could access these combat records. Thus, he knew of figures like Zhang Yi and the methods to bypass dimensional gate. Mutants represent the most primordial energy of biological evolution. The mechanical civilization, having evolved over countless ages, had mastered the use of various energies to a level of refined simplicity. Naturally, they possessed targeted countermeasures against such primitive methods. Yet before he could act, Zhang Yi had already retreated. This inevitably complicated the calculations within his central processing unit. He anticipated my attack in advance. There's a 35% chance he possesses the ability to predict the future, and a 47% chance he chose to flee. But before his calculations concluded, he suddenly detected an eerie shift in the surrounding space. Invisible to the naked eye, yet as a mechanical life form, he could see it. Around him, massive portals to alternate dimensions floated in midair like mirrors. This is a new tactic specifically designed to counter you, and those who've devised methods to break through dimensional gates targeting me. I call it the mirror maze. Zhang Yi's form materialized from one such dimensional gate. Of the gate of 3,000 realms, he retained only 2 to shield his body, deploying the rest throughout this space. My abilities aren't just formidable in defense, they're also excellent for escape. Yet most who fight me focus solely on breaching my defenses, forgetting I'm not just standing there taking hits. Zhang Yi inwardly exclaimed. But then again, perhaps those who fought him before couldn't even manage to break through his defenses. After his battle with the demon god Gui, Zhang Yi understood that such powerful mechanical life forms must possess technology capable of countering space supernatural abilities. Therefore, before facing a higher-ranked demon god, Zhang Yi had already prepared for this possibility. He never put all his eggs in one basket. How to respond when absolute defense failed had always been a question he pondered deeply. Take the present situation, for instance. Demon God Ding possessed the ability to attack him through dimensional gate. Yet, with thousands of dimensional gates scattered mid-air, Zhang Yi could materialize or vanish anywhere within the vast space at any moment. This made it impossible for the opponent to pinpoint his location. Not to mention, he possessed the near-invincible 3-second advantage granted by the second hand of time. When an opponent cannot be struck, even the most formidable offensive power becomes meaningless. Before Demon God Ding could unleash his attack, Zhang Yi had already anticipated it and evaded. His face betrayed no emotion, though that made sense. Being a machine, his body likely lacked facial expression capabilities. Zhang Yi stood directly in front of and slightly above Demon God Ding, looking down on him from above. Then Zhang Yi raised the divine refinement in his hand. The weapon transformed into a long, narrow battle sword. The moment the sword appeared, an unusual light finally flashed in Demon God Ding's eyes. It was still Zhang Yi's sword, but the material had been upgraded. The weapon material of the Demon God Gui had been infused into Zhang Yi's divine refinement by Liu Karen after his ascension to Epsilon. 12 crimson energy crystals were even inlaid upon it. Your technology is remarkably advanced. I quite like it. No sooner had Zhang Yi spoken than he swung the sword down at Demon God Ding. Not supernatural energy, but a weapon of technological civilization, a powerful crimson wave surged toward Demon God Ding like a tsunami.